an essay of the nature and actions of the subterranean and of the most part invisible people heretofore under the name of elves, fauns, and fairies, or the like, among the low country Scots, as they are described by those who have the second sight, and now, to occasion further inquiry, collected and compared by a circumspect inquirer residing among the Scotch, Irish, and Scotland. Chapter 1 of the Subterranean Inhabitants. These seas, or fairies, they call the slay Mythe, for the good people, it would seem, to prevent the dint of their ill attempts, for the Irish, oof the beliefs that they fear harm of, are said to be the middle nature betwixt man and angel, as were demons thought to be of old, of intelligent, studious spirits, and light changeable bodies, like those called astral, somewhat of the nature of confined cloud, and have been and best seen in twilight. These bodies be so pliable through the subtlety of the spirits that agitate them, that they can make themselves appear or disappear at pleasure. Some have bodies or vehicles so spongious, thin, and gusset that they are fed only by sucking into some fine spirituous liquors that pierce like pure air and oil. Others feel more gross on the fleufon and substance of the corns and liquors, and corn it fell that grows in the surface of the earth, which the fairies steal away, partly invisible, partly preying on the grain, as do crows and mice. Wherefore in this same age there is sometimes heard to bake bread, strike hammers, and do such like services within the little hillocks they oft mountain, they most haunt. Some whereof of old, before the God-spell dispelled paganism, and in some barbarous places as yet, enter houses after all are at rest, and set the kitchens in order, and cleansing all their vessels. Such drags go under the name of brownies. When we have plenty, they have scarcity in their homes. On the contrary, where they are empowered to catch on such prey everywhere as they please, their robberies notwithstanding sometimes of occasion great rickles of corn, and do not bleed so well, as they call it, or prove so copious by very far as we expect of the owner. Their bodies are congealed air of some form, sometimes so carried aloft, others will grovel different shapes, and enter into any cranny or cleft of the earth where air enters to their ordinary dwellings. The earth being full of cavities and cells, and there being no place nor creature that is supported to have other animals, greater or lesser, living in or upon it as the inhabitants, and no such thing as pure wilderness in the whole universe. When we, the more terrestrial kind, have so numerously planted in all countries, do labor the abstruse people as well as ourselves, albeit when several countries were uninhabited by the we, these had their early tillage above the ground, as we now. The whole of those fairest do yet examine, yet remain to be seen on the shoulders of the very high hills, which was done when the champion ground was wood and forest. They removed to other lodgings at the beginning of each quarter of the year, so traveling until doomsday, being impudent and impotent of, staying in one place and finding some safe by foregoing journeying, and changing in habitations. Their chameleon-like bodies swim in the air near the earth with bag and baggage, and at such revelations at times, seers or men of the second sight, females being seldom so qualified, have very terrifying encounters with them, even on highways, therefore usually shown to travel abroad at these 4 seasons of the year, and thereby made it custom to this day among the Scottish Irish to keep church duly every first Sunday of the quarter, to feed or hollow themselves their corns and cattle from the shoots and stealth of these wandering tribes. And many of these superstitious people will not be seen in church again until the next quarter begin, as if no duty were to be learned or done by them, but all this use of worship and sermons were to save them from these arrows that fly in the dark. They are distributed in tribes and orders, and have children, nurses, marriages and deaths and burials, in appearance even as we, unless they do so for a mock throw. For the prognosticates some such things among us. 3. They are clearly seen by these men of the second sight to eat at funerals and banquets. Hence many of the Scotch-Irish have not treat meat at these meetings, left they have communing with, or be postponed by them. So they're seen to carry the bier or coffin with the corpse among the Middle Earth men to the grave. Some men of that exalted sight, whether by art or nature, have told me that they have seen these meetings a doubleman, or shape of some man in two places. That is, a superterranean and a subterranean inhabitant, perfectly resembling one another of the points, whom he notwithstanding could easily distinguish one from another, by some secret tokens or operations, and so go speak to the man his neighbor and familiar, passing by the apparition or resemblance of it. They avouch that every element in being state of being has animals resembling these of another element, and by these fishes sometimes the sea resembling monks of the late order in all their hoods and dresses. So as the Roman invention of good and bad demons, and guardian angel was particularly assigned as them by the ignorance mistake, sprung only from this original. They call it reflex man, a co-worker, in every way like the man as a twin brother and companion, haunting him as a shadow, as is oft seen and known among men, resembling the original, both before and after the original is dead. We also seen the old enter the house, by which the people knew that the person of the likeness was to visit them within a few days. This copy, echo, or living picture goes at last to his own herd. He accompanied that person so long and frequently for ends best known himself, whether to guard him from the secret assaults or some of his own folks, or only as some powerful ape and counterfeit with all his actions. However, the stories of old witches proves beyond contradiction that all sorts of people, spirits which assume light, airy bodies, or crazed bodies acted by soaring spirits, seem to have some pleasure, at least to average the pain or melancholy, by frisking and caparizing the satyrs, or whistling and screeching, unlike lucky birds, in their unhallowed synagogues and sabbaths. If invited and earnestly required, these companions make themselves known and familiar to men. Otherwise, being in a different state and element, they neither can nor will easily converse with them. They avouch that a Hello, or a great eater, hath a voracious elf to be his attender, called a joint eater, just haver, feeding on the pith or counterfeits of that quintessence of what the man eats, and that therefore he continues lean like a hawk or heron, notwithstanding his devouring appetites. Yet it would seem that they convey that the substance elsewhere, for these subterraneans eat but little in their dwellings, their food being exactly clean, and fevered up by the pleasant children like enchanted puppets. What food they extract from us is conveyed to their homes by secret paths, as some skilful women do in the pith and milk from neighbors' cows into their own cheese-like hold thorough in the hair tedder at a great distance by air magic, or by drawing a spigot fastened to a post which will bring milk as far as the bowl will be heard to roar. Cheese made of the remaining milk of a cow thus stained will swim in water like a cork. The method they take to recover their milk is bitter chiding of the suspected enchanters, charging them with the counter charm to give them back their own, and God, and their master's name. But a little of the mother's dung stroketh on the calf's mouth before it suck any, does prevent this theft.